Today I want to show you guys how I cook prime rib on the PK grill. Prime rib is a really expensive cut made from the ribeye portion of beef, but it's such a good way to cook it is on a grill like this. You can get some smoky, charcoal, crusty exterior that you just can't get in the oven, in my opinion. So we're going to start out on this PK grill by getting a charcoal chimney about 3/4 of the way full, going really hot. I like to use vegetable oil in some paper towels to get it going, and I even put a little piece of wood on top to get cooking. Now I happen to have a ribeye in my fridge because I'm going to be cutting steaks out of it to freeze. So before I cut it up into steaks, I thought I'll cut a prime rib out of here and do a tutorial for you guys on how to do that. Prime rib is pretty much, in this case, a 4-inch thick ribeye. That's all a prime rib is a ribeye steak roasted rather. Often in the oven, sometimes in the smoker, but in this case today, we'll be doing it on the PK grill. There's not much trimming to do. I don't like that large cap fat on the end there, so I generally cut it off and then maybe trim off any little tiny piece that we might see that might burn up. You see these little tiny pieces on there, we'll trim those. That's about it. I like to coat the outside of my prime rib in a really crunchy, crusty, coarse, heavy seasoning. And in this case today, I'm going to be using Payne County Gold. It's my own seasoning. But a good alternative, McCormick makes one called Montreal Steak Seasoning. It's very good. Payne County Gold is actually my version of a Montreal. And to get that heavy seasoning to stick to this roast, I'm going to use some yellow mustard. You don't have to worry about the flavor of yellow mustard being imparted onto this roast, because when it gets really hot, the flavor of mustard completely goes away. So it works great as a cement or a glue to hold on coarse, heavy seasonings that might otherwise fall off really easily on a big roast like this. So again, this is Payne County Gold. It is my steak and burger seasoning. It's very coarse chunks of onion and garlic, black pepper, salt, coriander, and it'll stick really easily to the outside of this roast. I would not use anything with lemon in it. It's not my favorite complement to beef. There's no lemon in this. The yellow comes from the turmeric in my seasoning. But you can see we got a good heavy seasoning on the outside of this prime rib ready to go on the grill. So we're going to dump this rip-roaring hot bed of coals over on one side of the PK grill so we can get an indirect cook. Of course you could do this on a Weber or any charcoal, or just get the coals way over on one side so you don't get that flare-up or searing heat on your product, which will be placed on the other side. Then I like to nestle that already burning well piece of oak down in those coals, and it'll, in the hour and a half time we're going to take to cook this, it'll fume that product with some good smoky flavor. I like to put the grill over those coals and kind of get it burning hot so that I can brush it off with a poly brush like this, get it nice and clean. And then we'll wait for that grill to come up to 325 degrees. We can adjust that little vent on the top of our grill to get the kind of temperature that we want. And I'll put it all the way over here at the other side so that it roasts in this charcoaly, smoky environment. We're going to be shooting for a medium rare today because that's the way I like it. You could cook it less or more, but I'm going to put the very tip of this probe thermometer exactly in the middle, and we're going to shoot for 115 degrees. And that'll give us a good medium to medium rare rosy pink prime rib today with a good crust on the outside from this 325 degree oven. I don't like to cook it over 350 degrees because you get that weird prime rib that's well done on the outside and then rare in the middle. I like it to be the same temperature all the way through, so I cook it at 325. You could cook it less than this if you wanted, at a lower temperature. There's an hour in, and you can see that crust is really starting to adhere well to our roast. I've added a little bit of extra charcoal over there just to keep the heat going, but you don't need to add that much. That's what it looks like an hour in. Our next step, we're going to wait till it hits about 100 degrees. And when it hits 100 degrees, we're going to oil the outside of this roast so that it gets really crispy and crunchy with all those seasonings and rubs on the outside. And there we are. This is about an hour and 20 or hour and 25 minutes in. And you can see it's just as crunchy as can be. But if you do this, sorry about the shaky camera work there. If you add a little bit of oil, I like to use olive oil. If you use a little bit of olive oil on the outside and carefully drizzle it over all this, you'll get that really crispy, crunchy exterior without burning your spices. So that's what I do here. You can see how well that crust is developing on this prime rib. So here we are. This prime rib is done. We were aiming for 115, and that's exactly what we got. That's going to be a perfectly rosy pink medium rare all the way through from end to end with no well done parts or rare parts. It should be consistent all the way through. And we don't have to let this roast rest very long because it only got up to 115 degrees. It's not like a brisket or something that we took over 200. So we can let it rest about 5 or 10 minutes, and then it's time to slice this prime rib up. And I can show you what it looks like in the middle. That crunchy exterior is the best part. Salty, garlicky, peppery, crunchy. It's a very crisp exterior with a perfectly medium rare, rosy pink, medium rare cook to the entire internal temperature there. And that's what we're aiming for. I'm taking my time cutting this. It's actually very tender, but I want those slices to be just that thick. The thickness of a thick pencil is how I like it, maybe a little thicker. And you just take your time and slice it and keep that good crunchy crust on the outside. See how moist this product is? That's a USDA choice ribeye. And look at all the moisture we've retained. You could pull that apart just by barely tugging on it. It's very tender, and then the outside is very crunchy and crusty. This is a great way to cook ribeye, and it's expensive, so it's good for holidays, or it's good for when you have guests over, but you can usually buy these at Walmart as prime rib, or you can buy the whole loin like I did and cut your own roasts if you like. Please try this. Please try it on the grill instead of in the oven. It just really adds a lot of flavor to have that charred, grilled, crunchy exterior. The crust is the very, very best part of this. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I really, really hope you try this.